Okay, hello everybody. My name is Ty, Coach Ty. I'll be taking care of you today. I'm here with my friend Metod and spine expert, I like to call him. And we're going to talk about how to engage your core. What does that even mean? You hear your coaches say, brace your core, engage your core, squeeze your core. What are they talking about?
Hi guys, I call myself spine coach because it's all
Oh,
about everybody dealing with the spine. They should be spine experts, but because I coach people basically how they use their body 24/7, I call myself coach. Um, okay, uh, we are talking about engagement of muscles around the spine. Uh, as you noticed, core is not an anatomical expression, and if you ask different people what the core is, they're going to give you different answers. Like for some guys in the gym, core is the so-called six-pack, right? For some guys, core is lower back. For some guys, a back is latissimus dorsi. I did my back, right? Um, for when we talk about core, my first association is torso, meaning something between everything between your shoulders and hips, but more accurate. If I would need to define core, and because this word gets thrown around so much, I created exact definition of what the core is to me. You might disagree with it, but if you stay in coaching business long enough, if you follow up on your clients regularly, you will see great value in that definition. The best way to injure the spine is the system. Uh, the spine is the system that has hard stuff, bony stuff, and it has soft stuff. We have vertebrae and we have the discs. Okay? And this is not ball and socket joint. It can move, but it can also provide a lot of stability. But it cannot move like other joints can. It does not have such great mobility, at least not with normal people. Okay? Now, this beautiful system allows mobility, right? We can twist it, bend it, especially when we don't have some issue with it. But we can also make it stiff and lift heavy stuff with it, or push or pull, right? And if you observe any strong man or woman, that they are the best in their sport, when they do something, their spine is going to be really close to the neutral. We talked in previous podcast about the neutral position, and we need to stabilize that position with our muscles. Now, the main principle, if we want to keep our spine healthy, is when we load our spine, the movement of the spine, the micro movements needs to be arrested. They need to be stopped. Okay. And when our spine is not loaded and we don't have some issue like disc tear or unstable disc, we can move spine freely. So in boxing, we would dodge the kicks, we would dodge the blows, the hits. But when you hit somebody, in the moment when you translate force to his body, your spine is going to be really close to neutral. In wrestling, if we would wrestle, I would at some point probably put this part of my head onto your cheek nerves, and I would try to get you out of your neutral because you will be weaker. Now I need to stabilize from my hips to my neck. So now the core, right, becomes from my ears, and you can see this wrestling, boxing, and X, right, from my ears to my hips. So my working definition of core is any muscle, any area of the body around the spine that needs to be stiff in a given situation. Because if I load it and I let my spine move, slide, bend, that's mechanism of the injury. The best way, if you want to injure your spine, is just to put load on it and move the disc, twist, dance. Like you can do that. You can do that. Just go to the gym and take a bar. You don't even need to load it, and you just rock your pelvis back and forth. When they did this test, they need to stop doing it because almost everybody had pain immediately. So it doesn't matter what young people say, young coaches say, who have only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of experience, they have not yet injured their spine. But when they do, they will discover pretty soon what's true and what's not. Meaning, if I have some issue, I need to stabilize it. And I created this issue with loading my spine and while I was moving my spine relatively to each other, meaning bending. Of course, there are some people who injure themselves just by doing right things with correct technique too much too often. But most of us, we leave things with moving of our back, not arresting the movement in the torso, right? Maybe I was too complicated, but it's very simple. If my spine is loaded, or if I produce some sort of force on my environment, it needs to move as a unit. It can rotate, whatever, but it needs to move as a unit as soon as you load it. If it's not loaded and it's healthy, you can move it. Okay. So when we
Yeah,
got
so I'm gonna simplify it real quick and see
yeah,
if it helps. So the core, let me know if this is what how I understood is what you're saying. The core is the part of your body around your spine that needs to stiffen in any given movement. So depending on what movement you're doing or what movement where you're collecting the force, the core will be different for each one. So if you're wrestling and someone is really attacking this area here, your core is not necessarily what you think of like in the middle of your body. Because a lot of the action is happening here, the core becomes this area here because you are fighting
not
it
correct. The core will be everything from your hips to your
to
ear.
your jaw.
I mean, torso, neck, pelvis, right? Uh, some techniques in martial arts, you extend somebody's arm, like you are face to face. You go underneath his arm, you scoop under the shoulder, and you lift him by extended arm, and you need to hook him with the head, right? But again, in this position, my neck, my thoracic part, my chest, shoulder blades, my abdominal area, from the hips to the ears, it needs to be one single unit. If I,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, one single unit when I lift you from the ground, okay? If we talk about baseball pitchers, they need to have elasticity here and mobility here on this line, but some part of their torso will need to be super stiff to translate the force.
And
So
that's what I guess
I
that's
don't,
what I was talking about. It's like because we're dynamic movers, right? We got all these planes to move in. If you
mm,
need some part to be elastic, then you wouldn't hold on to it so much. You would hold on to the part where you need to collect the force or create the force. And that would become like the core of that position because I that's what I'm getting because I know for me the core is from the jaw, like underneath the ears area, this area, down to the pelvic floor, like
yeah.
like where your thighs meet your hips. That is how I was taught the core is in theater because you need this
Mm,
whole part of your body to generate sound and to generate movement or whatever it is that we're doing on stage.
yeah.
Um, and so when you speak, I'm thinking of that plus the idea of movement is so dynamic, the core might change based off of what you're doing.
Mm.
Like the part of,
Let's take an archer, right? For him, even an arm needs to become a part of the core, right? So
Yeah.
when I'm not a professional archer, so I may do somebody injustice. But here, this position and this part of the torso will go a little bit back, right? And it will start like that. And when I do this, I need to lock. I need to lock my arm with my torso. And also, if you notice, they always have exact position when they draw their arrow to. Okay? So I don't even use the word core. I would say brace for that exercise, and I would talk about different kinds of bracing. Okay, so now we are in core engagement or core bracing, because what's really big part of the bracing is breathing.
Yes.
So if I'm bracing my abdominal part, I'm inhaling in my abdominal cavity, right? So if I inhale, you see my fingers came a little bit out. Now I'll flex my muscles, but they come out even more, right?
So this is yeah. I like
That's
to talk about
abdominal bracing.
breathing.
That's abdominal bracing. And what I want to feel is stiffening of muscles, not only here in front, my thumbs are on
Everywhere.
the back. I want to feel my thumbs on the back coming out. Okay? If we talk about thoracic, chest, back bracing, I would instruct people to inhale in the lungs, get their shoulders back and down, and flex their pecs. When you lift something, it's really easy. You do this and you squeeze. If you have a box, you squeeze it. You'll automatically activate your pectoralis. So now this is thoracic bracing. If we talk about the neck bracing, we are putting a tongue up, pressing it on the roof of the mouth. And again, if you inhale, you stop breathing, you squeeze your lips. And you can see this with power lifters or Olympic lifters. This is locked. This is locked. Maybe even the jaw will be locked. And they don't open their mouth. If they do, it's really sharp inhale. And they seal it again. And that would be a neck bracing. Okay? So each of these components, for some people with more complex spine issues, they can only brace thoracically, thoracic and neck part. Okay? For some people, they can only brace abdominal. But for healthy people or for less complicated cases, when you lift something, you just brace, as you told, from the hips to the jaw, which is basically to the ears. So you do it all together. You inhale, you press everything out, flex, and now you move only through the leg and arm joints, meaning only arms and elbows moves, only hips and knees and ankles move.
Yeah, so it's all about the breathing. It's all about
It's not all about the breathing, but the breathing
mhm.
is extremely important component.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm maybe boring or too nerdy, but if you take an athlete or if you take everyday person, all you need to look at are three things, and you're going to predict pretty precise if they are going to get their spine injured or not. How you do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
For example, some people will do very risky moves in their martial arts, like technique that their good coach would not recommend, but they do it their way and it works for them while they're doing it, but it doesn't work for their spine or for their joints in the long run, right? So if I see somebody doing some strange technique that I know he's moving his spine under the load a lot, that can last for 5-10 years maybe, but he's injuring his spine. Okay,
Yeah, little by little.
little by little. Yeah, it's accumulative stress that counts at the end of the day. Then, so I'm interested. If you're a runner, how do you run? If you're a lifter, how do you lift? If you're a pitcher, how you pitch? If you're a martial artist, how do you attack? How do you defend yourself? Right? Now, second thing is, if I test your torso core stabilization, are you able to find instinctively your neutral position and stabilize it? Are you even able to have this motoric pattern, right? We have check here or not check here. And the third thing is breathing. So if I observe athlete and I sprinter, like 100-meter dash, if I hear sprinter, and you see the sprinting is different technique, they will go from side to side, right? And the forces, they're going to be extremely high forces, extremely high forces. Like if you only walk on concrete, on your hips, you will have, every time you hit a concrete road with your feet, you'll have about triple amount of your body weight on your hip. You're not even running. And these guys are sprinting extremely fast, extremely hard. And if I hear you exhaling like this, usually they breathe like this. But if I hear full exhale, that's a spine injury.
Yeah, because you're losing all that tension
They
that you
lost
need.
stability. They allow themselves to empty balloon. And when they go side to side, you have a shear moment. And there is a lot of impact on their spine. With each contact with the ground, the spine needs to be stable, right? So they are different. Some maybe they have one exhale, on some have two, some have three, some have four exhale inhales on the distance. But if I check their breathing pattern, if I check their running technique, and if I check how they are able to stabilize the core, you test them with exercises. They did this on the best basketball team, and you know what happened? They were surprised. They were surprised even by themselves. They 100% predicted who's going to get injured. They also 100% predicted who's not going to get injured.